creepy TikToks that will make you rethink reality. Let's go!
Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research, as these clips haven't been fact-checked.
All dressed up and nowhere to go. 2,000 Teslas arrive here at Port Melbourne every month, but no buyers to take them home.
All of a sudden we've got a huge backlog of Teslas that aren't moving.
Tesla sales slumped 44% in April, despite multiple and significant price cuts to its fleet, in a bid to compete with the growing Chinese EV market. Tesla isn't the only company suffering. Electric vehicle sales in Australia dipped 5% in April, after more than 3 years of double and triple-digit growth.
People are starting to tighten their purse strings. They really want value out of a car.
Experts say the sector is struggling to advance beyond the early adopter phase.
People are just a little bit weary about those price fluctuations and what it means for them when it comes to resale time.
7 News sought comment from Tesla on several occasions, but received no response.
Maybe those who can afford them have them already. The rest of us are deciding whether to eat our last pack of noodles or save them for tomorrow.
Never heard this until recently, but apparently a large portion of Savannah, Georgia is haunted as...
Really?
Yes.
Like the whole city?
A large portion of the city, yes. So it was around the time of Hurricane Matthew, right? I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
But so it hit them too, you feel me? And when it hit them, a bunch of shit got f***ed up, you know, obviously. And when everything got f***ed up, there are these trees called, I think they're called live oaks, or people call them century oaks, right? A lot of these trees are like over 100 years old. When the hurricane hit, it knocked over a bunch of these trees. So hella the trees got like uprooted and, you know, whatever. They're all tilted over. What people started to find under these trees was insane. They found over, I'm gonna probably say thousands of skeletons under these trees.
Under the trees? Like they've been there for
and they've been
centuries.
Probably hundreds of years, as long as some of these trees probably been sprouting. Yeah, and it's crazy because like some of the not even some, most of these bones that they find, they were like infused with the roots, and like the roots growing in them and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Which is hella crazy, bro. And pretty much people have been saying for the longest time is like, yeah, and it makes sense too. They're saying that there are probably like hundreds of thousands of people just buried under Savannah, Georgia. Not even like just in the cemeteries or whatever, just under the city. So I'm just being real, exiting Savannah, Georgia off my list, bro. I'm cool, bro. I'm like, that's too much death, you know what I mean? Just
I think places like old cities gotta be the most haunted. Like you gotta think of places like where like the battles of Gettysburg and shit like that was that. You know,
hell yeah, bro. There's wailing spirits all around. Are you kidding?
Yeah, there has
Holy hell, bro.
I read that most of downtown Savannah is built on unmarked graves. Is that right? If you're from Savannah, please share your experience in the comment.
Next closest animal to humans in intelligence. Chimpanzees, chimps. And what's the DNA difference? 2% tops? Only a 2% difference in DNA. And the chimp is stacking boxes, but we have poetry and music and the Hubble telescope. Now consider some other species, 2% beyond us. What would we look like to them? They would roll Stephen Hawking, roll him forward and say, this one is slightly smarter than the rest because he can do astrophysics calculations in his head. Like little Timmy over here, alien Timmy, who just came back from preschool. If aliens came and they had only that much more intelligence than us, they could enslave the entire Earth and we wouldn't even know it. Maybe that has already happened. And we are living our lives as though we are expressing the free will of the human species, yet we are nothing more than an ant farm. So we are their entertainment, not even worthy of investigation beyond what we look like in their terrarium.
That has already happened. Like he said, humanity has been enslaved. I don't know about aliens, but I'm leaning towards fallen angels, and they don't even know it. Have you seen Three Body Problem on Netflix?
Here's the question. Whitney Houston killers came into a hotel room, right?
Yeah.
That's a 5-star hotel, Hollywood Hilton, right?
Beverly Hills Hilton.
Can I ask you a question? Where the footage from the hallway? Where the footage from the hallway? Why we never saw the footage from the hallway? You know why? Because whoever had Whitney Houston murdered had enough power to make that footage disappear.
But kill Whitney for what though?
That's what I was gonna ask though. What she was fighting for?
I'm gonna tell you what I think she was fighting for. What do all
masters?
What do all entertainers do when they run out of money?
So their masters publishing.
What's the first thing they start looking at?
They publishing. They
publishing.
Yes.
Their masters.
Yes.
And all the royalties that I never got.
Yes. Yes.
So Whitney Houston broke the Beatles record.
Yes.
Whitney Houston broke Elvis's record. Whitney Houston is the only black artist ever, not even Michael Jackson, to have 3 certified diamond albums. I Will Always Love You is the highest selling female song in world history. You understand me? Is she broke?
Facts.
I ain't never heard.
Whitney was going to order an audit on her publishing, her royalties, her masters. And there's somebody who couldn't afford that to happen. And that's why Whitney not here.
Yeah.
And isn't it ironic that Whitney Houston dies the same way that Jimi Hendrix dies? In a tub in a hotel, allegedly from drugs. And we know why Jimi Hendrix was murdered, the greatest guitarist of all time, because Jimi Hendrix wanted to finance the Black Panther Party, but he didn't know that his agent, his manager, was an MI6 British intelligence agent.
What?
Damn.
Yeah, you game.
They gonna have you mapped out.
And Prince was murdered because Prince didn't want to sell his unpublished music to Warner Brothers. And Michael Jackson was murdered because he didn't want to sell the Beatles catalog back to Sony Records.
What you want to ask for?
And R. Kelly went to jail because Sony Records wanted his catalog.
Yeah.
R. Kelly is not in jail for pedophilia, although that's wrong and he should be if he's guilty. But that ain't why he there. White folks been knew he was doing what he was doing. R. Kelly didn't go to jail till R. Kelly start questioning control of his masters. Bill Cosby goes to jail because the second largest oil company in the world wanted to drill under his home in Massachusetts and he wouldn't let him. And the reason they brought up the lawsuit with the ugly old white women is to financially bankrupt Bill Cosby, so he got to sell the house and the oil company gets the oil.
You sold the house?
I don't know.
But
he out of jail though.
Yeah.
Wow, that's wild. The footage of the hotel is yet to be discussed. I mean, it hasn't even been mentioned. And I thought Bill Cosby wants to buy NBC or one of them companies. What do you think?
Was bored and decided to play a harmless joke on his bank by depositing a $95,000 fake check. He assumed that his bank would just instantly reject it since it was very clearly fake. So this guy Patrick Holmes just walked away chuckling to himself and quickly forgot about it. That is until around a week later, Patrick visits his bank's ATM to withdraw some cash and realizes that his balance is suddenly now much higher than it used to be. In fact, $95,000 higher. Somehow, this bank had actually cashed in Patrick's monopoly-like money. Now, he was obviously shocked, but to his credit, the very first thing he did was go to his local law library. The books he found told him more or less that the money was now his. Patrick even went to his bank's branch manager to verify this, and this manager also told him that after 10 days go by, a check can't bounce. So Patrick figured he was in the clear. But around a month later, his bank suddenly noticed their error, and they were furious. Since Patrick had already withdrawn all his money by then, the bank froze his account and began repeatedly and aggressively demanding their money back. Although Patrick was initially planning on returning the money, he was upset by his bank's aggression and refused to. For months, his bank kept threatening him with legal action, which could have just been an empty threat. But eventually, Patrick finally did return the money, just wanting to return to his normal life. He did, however, go on to turn the story into a popular comedy skit, which probably made him even more money in the long run.
Check fraud isn't a harmless prank. And where did the $95,000 got deposited to his account from?
Massive kept stealing our catches before we could get them all the way to the boat.
There we go. That ought to kill him.
So we dropped this big bait under the boat to see if we could find out what this monster was. The bait wasn't in the water longer than a minute before the monster found it.
Oh yeah, he's on it. All right, hang on. Yeah, I'm just.
You reel into him first, or then?
He's swimming our way. So.
Let me just see if I can get this hook set first.
Don't let him get in his hole. Oh, he's on.
He's on.
Alright, I'm just gonna go this speed, nice and slow.
The hook was set and the battle began.
Wow.
Hell yeah.
I'm on full drag. This is a big one, man.
Can tell.
This fish was so heavy I could only gain line an inch at a time.
I love fishing.
You didn't like that.
Ooh,
There we go. Now we're straight.
there's a big one, buddy.
Yeah, I didn't want it in there because it was bending the rod sideways.
The boat was in gear going forward at
Oh
idle
my
speed,
God, look at that.
so we could hopefully keep him from getting back down into the reef.
Oh,
Dang. I got so much drag on this fish right now. Oh, God.
2 minutes on.
The drag on this reel was essentially locked down.
We're away from the structure now, dude, so I don't know if
We can just wear them out.
yeah, when it back off.
Seemed like every time I made some headway and gained line, he would just take it all back.
He kicked.
What do you think?
Whew.
it's a big
I'm
one.
glad I'm not holding the rod right now.
As his fighting slowed down, I started to gain a little line and started to believe that I might be able to win this battle.
There you go.
There he is.
You see him?
Yeah, I see color. He didn't like that.
This fish was so powerful, he was literally pulling the boat backwards against the thrust of the motors.
He's mad. He's pulling us. The bee is pulling this boat. Oh boy, there he goes again.
As the fight went on, I really started to worry about the rod breaking or the rod holder pulling out of the gunnel.
Is that enough gear?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, sorry. I think I see color.
Yep.
At first sight,
Ooh,
I couldn't believe
look at
how
that.
massive this fish was.
Man.
God. Oh wow.
Oh,
There he
it's
is, dude.
shark.
Oh my
Oh, no, it's not.
God. Oh my God.
Beautiful.
Oh my God.
Come here.
No way.
It's a monster.
Let me get in here with him.
Oh my God. Somebody come get a pic right here.
Everybody here, I'll take a picture. I'm videoing, so.
All right, here. Woo!
So I jumped in, I got the hook out, and made sure that he swam back down to safety.
Oh, hell, that's a badass.
Time for you to
Wow. Thanks for letting him go. What a fight. Good job, gentlemen. Glad everyone made it out safe.
go. Go where? Move out, you're an adult now. I'm 18 today. Happy birthday, I packed your room for you. It's all waiting in the front yard. Get it before the trash guys do. I'm still in high school. What did I do? Mum, I don't even have a car. You should have thought about that before. How was I supposed to know you were gonna kick me out? Looks like it's about to rain, better hurry. Sam text saying happy birthday, girl. I'm scared. What's up, boo? My mum kicked me out, can I stay with you? Sam, I wouldn't normally ask. I'm desperate. Please, Sam, are you there? Unknown text saying happy birthday. Who's this? It's Auntie C. I know it's been a few years. Oh, I haven't seen you since I was 6. I know, I'm sorry. I had a disagreement with your mother, but I should never have disappeared on you. I love you and your brother still. What was the disagreement? I don't want to come between you and your mother. You can't, she kicked me out. That's awful. Do you need anything? I'm homeless. You can stay with me. Still at the same house. My stuff is, I'm at Montrose High. Okay, I'll grab your stuff, then get you. Thank you. She saves her number as Aunt Kathy. Tony text saying, where are you? Mum's losing her mind. Let her. What? What's wrong with you? Aunt Kathy text saying, here. I'm at the front, red truck. I see it. Her dad text saying, where are you?
My kids can live with me forever if they want to. Here in Indonesia, only marriage can separate us from our parents' house. I love how everyone was helping out, and the minute he was free, everyone went about their business. Perfect example of East Coast kindness.
Jesus said, beware of false prophets. They come to you in sheep's clothing. Inwardly, they are ferocious wolves, and they will eat your lunch.
Okay, let me tell you something about what you just said. I made a huge mistake in 2017. It was in Japan. I had a person very close to me tell me that mistake happened because I had a statue of Buddha in my backyard. And he said what you just said, punishing those who worship false prophets. In that moment, I thought that was so bizarre and also kind of like distasteful to everyone who puts their life in the belief of Buddha and Buddhism. That in itself is intolerance.
There's no way that anybody knows that because you have a statue of Buddha in your backyard, this horrible thing happened to you. That's total presumptuous. It's false.
It was wrong. Got rid of it. Terrible kept happening. You still got getting.
You and Jesus are, I think, a little closer than you might realize when you talk about
man,
justice. The reason is, why did Christ die on a cross? Because God is just. The penalty for human evil must be paid. I understand you're an expectant father. Little baby coming into the world?
Little baby
Your
girl.
mom was bragging to me about it. Let's say somebody murders that little baby.
God damn it, Clip. Didn't even get a chance to do anything. Didn't even make one video.
You know very well that if the police or the judge lets that dude off scot-free, your baby does not matter. Well, let's get one thing straight. God does care about every single one of us, which is why when we hurt each other, God will judge us for that because he loves us because we matter to him.
I love Cliff. He's a man of God. So happy he did this podcast.
Crazy things I've seen on the internet today. A woman that claims herself to be a sociopath said that she goes to restaurants and puts rat poison in the condiments at the tables. She said she likes to watch people and kids eat it because it's funny. And I have no idea if this person was ever arrested. Someone was hit by a train in California, and then a man picked up the person's severed leg and started eating it. He was arrested. It's giving 2012 bath salts epidemic. If you know, you know. Chick-fil-A will start using antibiotics in their chicken when they have always said for decades that they would never use antibiotics in their chicken. They're blaming it on like supply and production issues. So Chick-fil-A's on the chopping block. I'm not eating your crusty antibiotic chicken. A guy towed a car with a woman sleeping in it, and she woke up and left the car and said to him like, "Where the hell am I?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I checked the car. Where were you?" And she was like, "In the car. I was in the car." A woman called out of work sick and found her boss at the foot of her bed trying to get her to come into work. He's lucky he didn't come to my house because I would have kicked him right in the face. A 23-year-old student in Taiwan was arrested on suspicion of insurance fraud. He tried to receive a payout of $1 million after freezing his feet in dry ice for 10 hours.
What?
He tried to stage this as a motorcycle accident where he had frostbite from, I guess being on the road for a while. His goal was to have his feet and legs amputated, which, he did succeed at that goal, but he did not get his $1 million. And now he has no feet. I bet you the leg-eating guy in California would have liked to have them.
The leg-eating comment at the end was funny.
This a transgender cop car. Look at that. Are you guys cops or you just identify as cops?
I truly needed to hear the response. Bro went straight to the point. Well done.
There's a saying in the military that if they serve you steak and lobster, you're probably going to war soon. It's because they want you to get one more good meal in before you're literally in the trenches. The Air Force just increased their bonus career cap to $360,000. I don't think you understand how significant that number is. We're getting close to $500,000 in bonuses to join the military. And that's not even including your basic pay, allowances for housing, food, cost of living, special assignment pay, per diem, healthcare, benefits, the list goes on and on. Now, does this mean we're going to war sometime soon? I can't speculate. One, because I'm legally not allowed to, especially in uniform. And two, because I have zero insight. In the military, information comes from the top down and on a need to know basis. I'm neither at the top or need to know, so I know just as much as you. What I can say is that Uncle Sam is very stingy with his money. So when he starts throwing around $500,000 like it's nothing, that nothing means something. My dad used to say all money ain't good money, and I thought he was a little cuckoo in the head for that, but as I get older, it starts to make a little more sense. I don't know, food for thought.
Uncle Sam definitely is not just giving you money. There's always a catch. What do you think?
You can hear the difference between hot and cold water.
What? How?
Should we try it?
Yes.
Hold the line. Here is one I've prepared earlier.
Okay.
I have 1 cup of cold water, 1 cup of hot water. I'm going to pour them into this empty one. You're going to close your eyes.
Yep.
And you're going to decide which one's hot and which one's cold.
Okay.
Water number 1.
Okay.
Water number 2.
Okay. I think water number 1 was hot.
You are correct.
How? How do I know?
Just sounds hot.
Sounds
It
hot.
does sound hot.
I also poured it on myself and I was like, if I make a noise, she's going to know. So I was just like, I think it sounds like fuller, whereas the cold sounds like tinny almost.
The cold sounds fresher, high pitched to me.
This account posted a photo of a CCTV camera saying, unknown location. For now. So I found the live feed, retrieved the IP address, gained access to 9 more cameras in the general area, colorized camera 7, got the shape of these clouds, compared them to this live cloud coverage map, matching these clouds along this red line. Enhanced camera 6 matched this church tower to this city, and found the exact CCTV camera in Minervino Merge, Italy. I also found the owner and sent him an email letting him know his cameras were unprotected.
Bro, you literally pull a Minecraft cloud coordinate strategy.
Sadly, this form of ungodly behavior is not limited to secular artists. Please look closely at Kirk Franklin wearing lipstick in his famous song, Smile. Men don't wear lipstick. How about full-grown, supposedly Christian artists carrying Kirk Franklin? It is strange and awkward. There's nothing Christian about this type of bizarre behavior. Again, you see him wearing a skirt during a performance and twerking.
This is why Lecrae wears skirts. This is why he's in a skirt. This is why he's prancing around, just like the rest of the rappers. This is why Kurt Franklin wears lipstick. This is why they do this. This is why, man, it's so crazy, but these dudes are so fraudulent.
Hold on real quick.
Yeah.
When are we going to wake up? When are we going to realize that everybody that calls the name of Jesus does not represent him? At this point, it's like, what more can God show us? He keeps exposing them time and time and time again. What more can he show us?
And it's so hard to see. And it's really sad, but these are the people that so many brothers is deceived by.
In this video, Lecrae admitted to attending Diddy's parties.
I've been to a couple Diddy parties.
And who is usually invited to Diddy's parties?
You can't make it to the real party because somewhere, if you're not a homosexual, they got a filtering out process. Yeah. So they'll send a stylist, they'll have you out and about because they trying to drug you. So you be in a studio session late at night and they'll see if you a meatball, yo bro, here, hit this blunt.
So these secular folks are telling us what really goes down in these demonic parties. Let Lecrae explain.
I wasn't even going to say nothing about this, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. I've been to a couple Diddy parties. Now, I'm risking a lot by saying this. I've been to lots of parties. I've been to Jamie Foxx. I've been with Snoop, T.I. I've been to lots of places.
One can't help but wonder why a quote-unquote Christian artist attends these parties late at night.
I, in my personal experience, never saw anything where someone was like, you can't move any further unless you do X, Y, or Z. But what I did see was, if you do X, Y, or Z, well, keep coming. It was never a situation where I felt forced to sit. It wasn't situations where I was asked, do you stand? Do you stand? And I'm like, I don't stand. Oh, okay, cool. And then I was left alone. What I will say is that one particular party, lots of big names, there was an artist there who said, hey, Lecrae, around 1 a.m., make sure you're not here. And I was like, what? You just don't want to be here at 1 in the morning. And I was like, Now, my pride kicked in, like, yo, you don't know me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can handle myself. Like, I'm not some little church boy who ain't never seen nothing. Like, I'm good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what you talking about? Well, it's probably 12:30. I'm downstairs.
Why is he even there?
I go downstairs to the studio. I come up out the studio, and I'm headed back upstairs to like the main area where everyone's kind of congregating and hanging out. And the music changed. It was like really hard and heavy at first, and then, you know, like jam and dancing music. And it was a little softer. You know, it was a little more sensual when I came out the studio and started going upstairs. And on my way upstairs, there's like this couch. I won't say how the couch is designed, because then that may give away whose party and whose house this was. There was a couch.
You know whose house.
And on the couch, I saw a couple of guys really going at it, hard and heavy. And man, and I was like, oh, you know, my brain, I'm thinking, well, you know, the celebrity party, people do what they do.
Pause real quick. I got to pause real quick and say this. The fact that Lecrae was there is mind blowing, right? But the fact that he's been to multiple parties, you think after I would have went to one party and seen that, I would have went to other people parties? Nah, I'm good. But the fact that you was there in the first place, my brother.
Yeah, suspect.
Celebrity parties and people do what they do, such as men engaging in sensual relationships with other men, and folks like...
This year is the year of exposure. All deeds done in the dark will be brought to light. Jesus said, "From the fruits you shall know them."
Now I want to read to you the words to one of their first most popular songs. It was called "Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For." Now listen, they say they're Christian. They say this is a gospel song. Listen to the words. I have spoke with the tongue of angels. I have held the hand of a devil. It was warm in the night. I was cold as stone, but I still haven't found what I'm looking for. What bothers me is, he says, I've spoke with the tongue of angels. That's what Paul said, though I speak with the tongue of angels and yet I have not love. So he's saying, I've been on God's side. I've also held the hand of the devil, and his hand was warming. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. And then listen to what he says later on in the song. I believe in the kingdom come. Then all the colors will bleed into one. Unity.
Yep.
Bleed into one. Well, yes, I'm still running. And then he says, you broke the bonds and you loosed the chains. You carried the cross of my shame, You know I believe it, but I still haven't found what I'm looking for.
Wow. I could see why somebody would think that's a gospel song because of the carry of the cross, but when you see, but I still haven't found what I'm looking for, that should be a red flag.
Right, right. Yeah, you know, it's funny when you read the title of that, the chorus ran in my head. Did it do that same for you?
I don't recognize it.
Yeah? I almost like
Totally.
sang it out, and I was like, wow, that little tune and that little phrase
Well, were these lyrics
is in my head.
surprising?
I did not know that.
See, that's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
I just remember the chorus.
Yeah.
That happens a lot.
Yeah, and it's like, wow, you've seen the cross, but you still haven't found what you're looking for. Like,
Since when was you two considered Christian? This is wild.
Okay, where is this car that's reflecting on this Boston Pizza
It's inside.
window? It's a Corvette C8. I seriously don't see that car anywhere. Where's that car? What? Where is that car? Hello, where's that car? Where is this car?
Is the silver Impala right in front, identifying as an orange Corvette? Don't go anywhere because we still have fire clips after fire clips back to back.
Put you on to the Miami restaurant scam. Let me tell you, this is what they do. So if you go to one of these South Beach restaurants, say you're a tourist from out of town, you're just sitting and having a meal, you don't know that they automatically charge a 20% gratuity, which a lot of these restaurants do. So say you get the check, you don't really notice that there's a gratuity on there, and you throw it on your card, you're not thinking anything of it. Like, you know, you're on vacation, you're chilling, you're having a good time. So when they bring back the credit card receipt, after they have run your card, they will not bring back the original itemized check. So you do not see that gratuity has already been added on that check, and you actually add gratuity onto your credit card receipt. So you're literally not tipping 20% or 15% or whatever it is that you tip. I hope you tip 20% plus and not 15%, and I hope you're not cheap like that, but you're tipping double, so you end up tipping 30 to 40%. Every restaurant on South Beach, particularly on Ocean Drive, runs that scam. I was dining with a friend that was actually from overseas, and when I pointed that out to him, he was livid because he did not know. So that is one Miami restaurant scam to avoid.
In the WW WrestleMania, called it the double whammy.
Jaylen Brown turned down NASA and a year later was in the NBA Finals. And Jaylen might have the most impressive resume of any NBA player in history. He won Mr. Georgia in high school while being on the varsity chess team, taking college graduate level classes, and learning multiple languages at once. He then chose Cal over Kentucky because the academics were better. Jaylen is so smart that when Boston drafted him 3rd overall, it was dubbed the biggest mistake of the draft. And he was still Pac-12 Player of the Year. Since being drafted, he became the youngest VP of the NBA PA, was granted a fellowship at MIT, and is the youngest person to ever have a lecture at Harvard. Then in 2021, NASA offered Jaylen a job, which he politely declined. The next year, he made the NBA Finals, and in 2023, he signed the largest NBA contract in history. And while that contract was being negotiated, he was teaching robotics at MIT. Now he's headed to his 2nd Finals appearance. He's been in 6 Eastern Conference Finals and just won Eastern Conference MVP. And just to rub it in more, this guy also plays piano and guitar.
Wow, Jaylen Brown is what you call a Renaissance man.
Nope, this is not a room, but an underground tunnel filled with millions of skulls as decoration that has been funded by the government, and we are all in deep danger. People were horrified after finding a dystopian city right under our feet, filled with tens of millions of bodies that prove that satanic rituals and biblical events are real, and we are not safe. Deep in Paris lies one of the most largest haunting catacombs, where the government buried over 70 bodies per hour for 12 years. Being that the population in Paris was around 250,000 and they buried over 6 million bodies, many people believe the bodies were not just from Paris. With the same thing happening in Ukraine, the US, Italy, Malta, and more, having 180-mile-long tunnels of just bones, including them in circles and even skulls and bone thrones, all buried in the exact same way. Many wonder how all the designs were so similar from across the world, even before there was any communication, with many people saying this is all to build up to a ritual of some kind, but...
Ready? All right. Ready to throw it at me? 2, 1.
That was some of the last footage ever recorded of American Otto Warmbier, who shortly after that video became a prisoner of the North Korean regime. So before all of this, Otto was your everyday kid from Cincinnati, Ohio. And in late 2015, early 2016, he booked a danger tour, where he and a group of others would be flown into North Korea. Now, according to everyone else that was on the trip with Otto, he acted very normally throughout the entire trip. These are some of his belongings that he left there in North Korea. But as he was preparing to leave the country with the rest of his tour group, he was arrested at the airport, and he would return home to America in a vegetative state. So no one knew what happened to Otto, but eventually a video was released by the North Korean government where he was begging for forgiveness, talking about how he stole some sort of a sign, and how he had tried to subvert the people of North Korea against their supreme leader. All of this obviously is untrue, but according to North Korea, they had video footage of Otto stealing a propaganda poster in his hotel, which I guess is very extremely illegal in North Korea. They even leaked this security camera footage which allegedly shows Otto stealing the poster, even though many people agree that this probably isn't Otto. You can't make out any details on the figure, and it really could just be anyone. So eventually, after being charged with subversion, Otto was tried in North Korea, found guilty, and sentenced to 15 years of hard labor. All the while, Otto's parents were desperately trying to make contact with their son. They weren't allowed to speak with him, and they truthfully, after this trial, had no idea if he was alive or dead. Eventually, though, Donald Trump was able to broker some sort of a deal. Shockingly, it's alleged that the US government paid $2 million to the North Korean officials for the release of Otto. And this came after more than a year of bargaining and trying to get the North Korean people to let this American citizen return to his home country. However, when Otto emerged from the plane back on US soil, he was in a vegetative state. He kept screaming, he couldn't talk, he couldn't move, he was being fed through a feeding tube, and shortly after arriving back in the United States, Otto died. Now, North Korean officials have never come clean about exactly what happened to Otto. North Korean officials stated he was treated properly the entire time and with respect, but other prisoners that were there with Otto claimed that he might have been waterboarded, he was most likely beaten and physically tortured, and others have claimed that Otto was probably poisoned or targeted with bioweapons inside one of the prison camps in North Korea, meaning that whichever way you cut it, Otto's death was horrific, and nobody officially faced any repercussions for this. It definitely heightened tensions between North Korea and America, but no one was ever charged for his death, no one was ever held responsible, and justice in the story of Otto Warmbier is completely non-existent. We actually covered this story in depth on our podcast Murder in America recently on Patreon, so if you want to hear the full story, you can listen to our show anywhere you can stream podcasts.
I don't get why the United States don't delete them, to be honest. It would be a freedom for their people, especially for all generations that will never be born.
Mama. Mama. 你看到你妈妈是不是？是啊。你看错了啦，不是你妈妈啦。是你妈妈吗？你确定是你妈妈吗？妈妈，妈妈，妈妈。
A few days after my dad passed, my mother told me that my dad visited her in her dream, looking young and wearing the same outfit the first time they dated, and he told her that he's doing well now.
We just had a storm here in McKinney, Texas. And this is a literal first for us. I am 50 years old, and never in my life have I seen a sky like that. What the hell is going on?
Very strange things going on lately. The strangest part to me is that some people don't even notice things are strange.
How much you're worth. Even if your bank account has a certain balance, most of you guys are at least worth $250,000. If you have a functioning kidney, both functioning kidneys, and a well-working heart, all in, your body could be disassembled bit by bit, piece by piece, and sold, and you'd probably be worth $250,000. There are 3 distinct markets where you can buy things from: the white market, the gray market, and the black market. The white market is the legal market. You go to the store, you pick up a rotisserie chicken, and that's the white market. Transactions are typically recorded and taxed by the government, and then you have the gray market. The best way to describe the gray market is resale. It's not illegal, it's just if you purchase a pair of sneakers through a drop on Nike, you get them on the white market. Then you turn around and sell them online. That's the gray market. Then there's the black market. The black market is straight up illegal sales, unauthorized sales of weapons, drugs, the sale of stolen or counterfeit illegal items. But there is also the red market, the buying and selling of humans, human organs, tissues, body parts. And most of it is just to be used by another person. Blood can save someone else's life on the operating table. You can do kidney, liver, even lung transplants. Eyes, you can lose your sight in order for someone else to gain theirs. Even your hair can be made into a wig to be worn. The ligaments that keep your bones together, you can actually have them scraped off of your bones and implanted to someone else's so they can recover from their injuries quicker. The red market is organ trade.
Only 250K is kind of crazy. I thought it would be at least a million.
Drake had a problem. Not Drake the rapper, Drake Bell. But they did have a little bit in common. See, Drake had this one ex, right? She comes down and said, hey, Drake Bell like him young. But see, it was a little bit worse than that because that was just a side point to her main point. Her main point was, I broke up with Drake because he would me often and badly. Drake says, hey, yo, she said, I'm not finished. Also, side note, I found some weird stuff on his computer and he liked them young. Drake goes, can I talk now? I never put my hands on her. Everybody said, what about the other thing she said? Drake said, I never put my hands on her. Now, as you can imagine, the world supports the girlfriend. Psych, stupid, where you been living? The world was split. Half the people said, hey, Drake telling the truth because he said she just doing this for the fame. I don't know what she's talking about. She said, hey, Drake is insane. Split 50-50, who knows who's telling the truth. But then suddenly, Drake gets this weird charge. He gets a charge for, listen closely, endangering a super young person in a weird way. Now, if you know anything about the court system, is they'll only go for cases that they can win. So what they usually charge people for is for something that's super broad. Now, the world is a little confused because what he was charged for can mean anything. Well, that was until the trial, which was broadcasted. See, Drake was charged for messaging someone who is 25 minus 10. Let me pause for a second. In ways that he probably shouldn't have been messaging her. But here's where things start to get wicked. See, the girl pops out. Everything's set in stone. Remember, he said he's guilty. So there's no jury is done. They just need to hear their sides of the story. He said, hey, the only reason I said I was guilty because I want this all to go fast. She said, oh, is it my turn to talk? She begins to go in on Drake. She said, they said the number 15, but the number was 12. The lawyer said, objection. The judge said, hold on, I want to hear this. She said that's when she was connected with Drake because she was a super fan of Drake. So they texted until the number 15, and that's when things started to get a little weird. Drake messages her back then. How old are you again? She said 25 minus 10. Give some of y'all a second. Drake said, oh, hurry up. Now, Drake's lawyer in our time goes, hold on, let me stop you right there. Drake's a good guy. Everybody said, how do you figure? He said, I'm gonna get to that. Hurry up can also be taken to mean, leave me alone, you're too young. Everybody go, why? He go, moving on. Do y'all not understand how stressed out this lawyer probably was? No one knew she was gonna say all that. She said, well, anyway, Drake invites me to his concert. The lawyer goes, she go, and then it gets physical. He go, wait. Starts looking through his papers. He's like, I'm prepared for this. She goes, and then he invites me to his car. And then he comes to my hotel. Lawyer says, objection. Wait, hold on. Objection. She can't talk about this. We're talking about texting. The judge goes, oh, yeah. Now it's out now. Now, Drake denies her claims, but this time the United States isn't really going for it. And why I say the United States is because Mexico and Drake is like this, really South America in general. Now, people think that Drake got charged for this stuff and he fled to Mexico, but that's not the case. He didn't really get charged that hard. He was just always a huge hit in Spanish-speaking countries, like chart topping. So he said, if the U.S. doesn't like me, I'm moving to Mexico. He even wrote it in a song. Now, I would be remiss to mention that something not so great happened to Drake when he was younger as well. Really, many Nickelodeon stars. If you do want to learn more about that, check out the documentary Quiet on the Set.
Let me know how you feel about this in the comment.
Sure?
Yeah, bro.
You're positive or no?
The guys like you always try to do like this, that's why I put this.
I'm just making sure because this looks kind of
Be
fake.
sure, buddy, our company sure don't put it.
Can I check?
No problem.
You don't want me to check?
If it's going to be damaged, you're going to pay.
I'm just gonna check real quick.
No,
'cause it looks fake. It looks fake.
But if this one is there, is
if it's not fake, then why are you so worried about it?
Yeah, bro. Look, you can see the sign right there.
Then I can't do business. When it's gonna be stopped. Yeah, but you know.
This one doesn't have the sign right there, bro, and it's not like extended.
The sign gonna blink. You can see now. Wait, there is sign. I will show you.
Bro, you sure it's not fake?
You need to call the cops right then and there.
China actually built a hotel in a huge pit. It is the Shanghai Shimao Deep Pit Hotel, known as the world's architectural miracle, built 290 feet underground. The entire hotel has a total of 336 rooms. It is divided into 2 floors above ground and 15 floors underground. There are 2 layers deep underwater. Living there gives people a wonderful experience of falling into the abyss. The hotel not only has bars and underwater restaurants, there is also an indoor swimming pool and scenic walking paths. Not only that, it also makes clever use of the characteristics of deep pits. Each house has a viewing deck. Open the window and you can admire the waterfalls and vegetation on the cliffs. This dreamlike scene has conquered tourists from all over the world. But why should the hotel be built in a pit? It turns out that this place used to be an abandoned mine. Later, after design and construction, it became a world-class natural ecological hotel. Construction is very difficult at a location 290 feet underground. As an American, I have to say that China's infrastructure is really amazing.
They're becoming the best in the world at construction. Man, you gotta give credits where it's due. I know it's going to be people hating on them in the comment. Bro, you've been brainwashed to hate them since you were a child. You need to think for yourself.
So if you're going to live in a storage unit, you're going to need to be as invisible as you possibly can be. You basically need to be a ghost. If anybody finds out you're here, that's when you start running into trouble. So in here I've got my TV, entertainment center set up there. I've got my bed.
What?
I've got my kitchen area over there, complete with a fridge, and my couch over here. Once you're inside here, you can close the door. And I've screwed on a latch here, so that way you can close it and sort of lock it from the inside. Got some more pots and pans over here, and my fridge is right here. Underneath I've got a filing cabinet, some tools, and some storage for some other stuff I have. Up on this part of the kitchen I have cutting board so I can make some lunch or dinner there. I have a hot plate for boiling water. As you can see, all the stuff I've built in here is all built basically hanging from the ceiling. And the way I did that is I just got 2x4s, really long 2x4s, and put them all the way across the unit. And then I used L brackets to build shelving down from that.
While I hold nothing against this guy for living in a storage unit, this is just very sad that this is happening in the USA.
This is the craziest story ever. Tim Tebow was playing for the national championship with the Florida Gators. He put John 3:16 underneath his eyes. He won that game, and 94 million people Googled what John 3:16 was that day. The story gets even crazier. 3 years later, to the day, he was playing for the Denver Broncos and just completed the game against the Steelers. His PR agent came up to him and said, "This is the 3 years since you played that game in the national championship where you put John 3:16 under your eyes. Do you realize what just happened today during that game against the Steelers? You threw 316 yards. Your yards per rush were 3.16. Your yards per completion were 31.6. The time of possession was 31.06. And the ratings for the night were 31.6. This is a story that only God can write. If you know that God was trying to make a point, type John 3:16 in the comments and follow or subscribe.
John 3:16 is my favorite verse.
Watch this. In this scene, we see this rock is fallen and is coming straight for this kingdom. So what does this hero try to do? He tries to stop the rock and save the kingdom. He gives it his best effort. He even jumps in front of the rock just to save that kingdom. But the moment that he makes a small mistake and knocks down just the initial building in the kingdom, what happens? Everybody turns on this rock. Everybody turns on this rock when all he was trying to do was save them. So what does he do? The hero now becomes the villain because they didn't appreciate it. And there are many people like this in the world right now. They had the best intentions. They did the best for people, but they made one small mistake and now everybody turned their backs on them. And these people, they let whatever is meant to happen run its course because they tried and tried and tried. There's a quote from Jay-Z, Dark Knight legend, gotta be a hero, but live long enough to see yourself become a villain. That's exactly what happened, and that's why we have so many people in their villain era, because they tried to do right by people and people made quick judgments. People tore them down when all they were trying to do was save you from a bad outcome. There are millions of people that had good intentions and that did good by you, and they were trying to save you from a bad outcome, and you turned your backs on them because you didn't know the whole perspective and you didn't care enough to go and find out everything that was happening. You didn't care enough to go and find out everything that was happening. So now you tore this person down and the bad came to you. That bad omen afflicted you, right? That's why I was just telling y'all 3 videos ago, change your perspective. Change your perspective. Increase your communication. Not only increase your communication with God, also get to know your intuition. Also get to know your gut, because you might be tearing somebody down that's meant to do the best for you. You might be tearing somebody down that's willing to give everything for you, right? And it's a shame that people like this that do good and try to save us have to enter into that villain era, because they have to protect their own hearts. They have to protect their own peace of mind, right? Because a lot of times that's what it is. When you see people in the villain era, they're not in the villain era because they want to be bad. They in the villain era because they want to protect their peace, right? They want to protect their peace. Unfortunately, this is what happens. But before you tear somebody down, make sure you know the whole story. Make sure you have the proper perspective so we don't have people entering into their villain era.
That Jay-Z quote throw me off a little bit. But yeah, you can never stop doing good just because people are throwing stones at you. That means you were never willing at the first place.
Make big money by buying or renting undeveloped land. One of my #1 investors that was massive in the STR short-term rental space stopped doing that. What he started doing was, on the properties that he owned, he was putting up glamorous tents called glamping. Today, he's completely stopped purchasing properties with actual homes on there and is only purchasing raw land and converting them into glamping sites. And his ROI on his investment is crazy. He's probably putting these glamping tents together for maybe $10,000 a piece, and he's charging $600, $500 a night. So do the numbers. 10 nights of $500, $5,000. 20 nights of $500 is $10,000. That means you're completely cash flowing after 20 nights of rental.
$500 a night in a tent? You are underestimating us, sir.
I've been finally given permission to discuss the work that I do on a contractor basis with a government agency regarding the investigation, research, and development of what's called a temporal adjudicator. I'm putting some of the schematics up, and this is an incredibly rare and interesting picture of the portal that is created by the adjudicator. Basically, the adjudicator not only allows someone to move through time in actually a very limited sense. You can't go incredibly far into the future, and you can't go very, very far back either way, but you can go essentially a few years in either direction. They're allowing this to happen, especially on the social media platform, not on anything that is sort of mainstream in terms of media outlets, because, well, they really have a policy, whether it's UAPs and aliens or something like temporal adjudicator, of telling the truth. And what they bank on, what they completely expect, is that it will be dismissed, ridiculed, marginalized, ignored, and they still then have the moral stance that they have told the truth, and you guys just didn't believe it. So that's why I'm not going to spend any time trying to convince anybody of its veracity. I'm just telling you about my experience. So here's me going through it. And what's interesting about it is not only can it go forward and backwards in time a few years, it can actually go anywhere in your current timeline in terms of location. So it basically eliminates the need for trains, planes, and automobiles. You can basically go to, this beach in the Maldives, anywhere you want to go, It's simply an adjustment on the adjudicator technology that allows you. I mean, that's actually how the technology first got developed, was trying to just simply create a technology that allowed essentially like a Star Trek beam me up Scotty, transferring someone from one place to another. It was then later found that through basically the synchronization of certain wavelengths on the adjudicator, that you could affect a movement away or beyond one's timeline or backwards. So this actually, though, in terms of this speech here, I think it's just a side interesting issue. I want to point out that this is a time that in the next 2 years, 2026, where the two suns, see how the sun's really weird lately in 2024 now? Well, guess what, people? That's just the beginning of what's going to happen with the sky, the sun, the stars, the space, let's just put it that way. And two suns by 2026 is completely known, accepted, and not even a weird thing. The truth of it, there is, it's a better shot of it, although it's still overcast in this shot. I need to get a better shot, and I will. But this is an example of it. So just as a people that are going to say, hey, tell me about the lottery tickets or who wins the World Series or stuff like this, I can tell you this, that is something that people, they can't hide that for long, and they don't. This is actually, you should go back, if anyone wants to do a freeze frame on, this is in LA, this is a museum, and I'm going to actually let the thing play in a second at the end. But here's me putting in, for the 5100, and it's an old IBM legacy machine. John Titor has first mentioned this in terms of a time travel technology. And this is actually loosely based on the Titor model, but this is a bit different. But there I am creating a portal by just putting in the right circuit board into the 5100. Doesn't even need to be plugged in because it has what's called a latency charge. But this is, I'll show, I go through this, and this is another example of a little bit of a different portal than the first one that you saw, but nonetheless, this one is completely effective and basically shows the space-time distortion that's created. Now, once you go through the portal, everything sort of regulates, and you're able to see things in the normal sense. But if you look back, this is, the portal will remain for approximately an hour, sometimes even 2, depending on the charge, the latency charge of the 5100 that you're using as your primary temporal adjudicator. But if you look around, it starts to collapse, and when you see collapse, you got to go. Here's a little funny little bit, though. You got to hear this.
I was assigned to record anomalies and find other wanderers not resetting correctly. Eventually, it was discovered that I was leaking my videos to the app TikTok. Although there was no way for admins to stop me, this was eventually put to an end with the ban of TikTok in the year 2025.
I think they are selling them on a TikTok shop.
This is not just a massive black hole surrounded by fire that is moving rapidly, but it's hundreds of trillion times stronger than our sun, sucking in everything. People were terrified to hear NASA warns that not only is this huge flaming black hole 500 trillion times stronger than our sun, but it's growing and moving fast, and what it's doing is horrifying, with an eerie warning from BBC labeling it as the largest, hungriest black hole ever with no way to stop it. And reports say that it eats as much as the entire mass of our sun every several hours. With the size of this black hole being about 17 billion times our sun, it would be able to suck up our entire galaxy easily within just a few days if it gets close enough. And many reports say that if something like this even gets 1,000 light years near us, it would be too late for us all. Or at least that is what the headlines would have you think.
This outshines tens of thousands of galaxies just like the Milky Way.
It is moving but in the opposite direction, and the fire is just gas and dust. It is known as a quasar, so...
This guy never failed to scare us all.
Everything we are seeing now is just the latest manifesting of an ancient war and ancient evil, the longest of wars against any people. It defies human explanation because it's not human. 2,000 years ago, it was written in the book of Revelation. Listen. Now, when the dragon saw that he'd been cast to the earth, he persecuted the woman who gave birth to the male child. Who's the woman? She wears a crown of 12 stars, the 12 tribes of Israel. She gives birth to the male child who will rule, Messiah. can only be Israel, the Jewish nation. And the dragon? Well, the dragon is the enemy. Hasatan in Hebrew, Satan. The dragon persecutes the woman. The enemy persecutes Israel, the Jewish people. And verse 17, it says, and the dragon was enraged with the woman, and he went to make war with the rest of her offspring. Its ultimate fulfillment is yet to come, but it reveals the war that is already in progress. We are witnessing the latest manifestation of that war. It's a war that spans ages. It was waged by the pharaohs of Egypt, the rulers of Babylon, the emperors of Rome, the kings of the Middle Ages, the czars of Russia, the leaders of Nazi Germany, the leaders of Hamas, and even by those in our own land. They are also pawns, and behind it all is the dragon. In the last days, the dragon will wage war against the children of Israel. So he's warring now. The same one who wars against Israel will also war against the spiritual children of Israel. That's you, the believer, the follower of Messiah, a Christian. If he wars against the one, he's going to war against the other. So every follower of Messiah, Yeshua, the Messiah of Israel, must pray and uphold the children of Israel. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem.
Antichrist spirit war is at highest. Is defeated by Lord Jesus Christ's name. Repentance, whoever calls, hear.
Diddy is back in the news today, which of course is bad news for Diddy, but also the specifics here are wild. Because right now there's a grand jury in New York hearing from his victims, as well as there now being a massive investigation by the Rolling Stone that alleges that he actually has a much longer history of abuse than the recent claims would suggest. With, for example, colleagues telling Rolling Stone that back in 1994, they had to pull Diddy off a woman at their offices because they could hear him beating her. While in another incident, Diddy almost got into another altercation with another woman before being restrained. Then in 2000, he allegedly beat the shit out of a fellow music executive in a hotel room because he had a relationship with Diddy's ex. In 2001, he harassed a freelance graphic designer who was at a party he was throwing to celebrate his acquittal in a shooting trial. Fortunately, at that time, it didn't escalate to complete physical violence as the woman managed to slide away, but not before Diddy was allegedly a real creep by massaging her shoulders and saying things like, "Oh yeah, you like that? No, you like that." And during this investigation, the Rolling Stones spoke with about 50 people connected to Diddy in his past. And they found that some suggested that he was like this due to abandonment issues. And so sometimes it was so bad that he wouldn't let the women in his life move on, like when he and J-Lo broke up. Or he apparently had his staff stand outside MTV's TRL studios with signs to win her back. Though clearly that did not work there. And it also seems to have escalated from there because later on, exes like Cassie Ventura, or the one whose beating was caught on camera in a hotel, she said that Diddy would have his cronies hunt her down and pressure her to come back. With sometimes that pressure including things like threatening to not release her music. But follow to stay in the loop.
Where's Jamie Foxx at? He used to love good Diddy party. I haven't heard much of him lately.
American Idol, this man is truly worshiping the Lord, but wait for Katy Perry's reaction. Check it out.
With my life laid down, I surrender now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Goodness and mercy shall follow all the days of my life. All my life you have been faithful. All of my life God's been faithful. All my life you have been so good. So good with every breath that I am breathing. Every breath I'm able. I'm good.
The original video hit 20 million views, but let's pray for Katy Perry and all of those who have drifted from the faith, that they can come back to the loving arms of Jesus Christ.
She can feel the power of the Holy Ghost moving.
Did you hear the story about the woman who took a picture of a Delta Airlines flight attendant using their phone and sent it into the airline to file a complaint? Well, the Delta Airlines flight attendant is in trouble because they are not allowed to use their phones in front of passengers. But as Delta Airlines investigated the matter, they discovered something very interesting. The woman who filed the complaint, Angela Peary, has a 10-year history of filing complaints against flight attendants. In return for her complaint, she received skybucks. So Angela Peary was being financially rewarded every time she complained, and she was actually going into Facebook groups and bragging about it. In this Facebook post she wrote, I wrote my complaint about Joshua. The flight attendant who hid in the galleon was overall blank. Got a personal call from a Delta service agent and an $8,500 Sky Pesos. Winning. She said she was winning. Once word got out about this Delta Airlines Karen, people began to investigate and realize that she had been filing complaints on more than one airline. And people didn't like it, so they started clapping back. Angela has been reported to multiple airlines and possibly being placed on a no-fly list. People have also discovered that she is an author, and they have gone to her author pages on Amazon to give her books bad reviews. I don't know what's next for Angela Peary, but I do know that if you try to hurt someone for your own financial gain, it's going to catch up with you. What do you think about Angela and this story? Leave a comment to let me know. I'm Tierica with the T. Follow for more.
Financial rewards for that is crazy. And what if the employee was responding to a text from a family member?
Can you turn those lights off?
Which ones?
The ones that are keeping me awake at night?
Charlie, we went through this before, sweetheart.
What?
We went through this before. The rope lights are not in your window.
Honey, I have to put pillows over my windows so I can sleep.
The cops came and they looked at the rope lights. They said they're not shining in your window. But I'll do you this. I will turn them off at 10 o'clock. Okay?
Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that okay?
No, you're fine. I got you.
I don't mean to be a mean neighbor, and I want you as my neighbor.
I got it, Journey. All right? See what I think what it is, Journey? I think you just need to come over when you're lonely and talk and have some food and some wine. How about that?
I'm sorry.
And if I'm off and you ain't got nothing else to do, if you want to come on the patio, bring your bottle of wine, come chill with your boy, I got you. All right. Love you, Journey.
I'm sorry.
No, don't worry about it, sweetheart. You good.
The way her eyes lit up when he extended the invite.
Seriously? Well, it's been in my family for over 80 years. It was purchased somewhere around 1930 by my great-grandparents.
In Mexico or in the United States?
I believe it was purchased in Mexico.
Okay.
And the painting for some time was in bad condition, and it was hanging behind a door.
Behind a door?
Behind a door in the house.
Dear.
If that door was open, then you couldn't see the painting.
Well, there are two extraordinarily intriguing words in an artist's catalog of paintings, and those are whereabouts unknown.
Right.
My understanding of the painting's history is that it was painted in 1904 by Diego Rivera. And at that point, Diego Rivera, who is arguably one of the most important Latin American 20th century artists, was only 18 years old. And this was only, I think, 3 or 4 paintings by the artist that are known from that early time. It's a wonderful period, early 20th century painting, but it also gives hints of his mural style, his technique, and even more so, in a way, his subject matter, which were the workers of Mexico.
Right.
A really terrific image. The painting is oil on canvas.
Mm-hmm.
It's signed and dated lower right, Diego Rivera, 1904. And what's interesting about the signature is it's a very young man's signature. It's one of his school signatures rather than the more formal, mature signature that we'll see later.
Oh, really?
The research that we found in the authentication process of it is that it had been missing. In the records in Mexico City, it was unknown. Where's the painting? Where is El Albañil, which is the laborer? It was an important painting for him in 1904 and then disappeared. From 1930 to roughly 1995 or 6, when it was exhibited and authenticated.
Now, they have done some restoration on it.
Yes, it has been lined, but it is in very fine restored condition. Well, I think you have something of a painting trifecta here.
Oh, good, good.
The painting itself is by a very important artist. It has a terrific history of being purchased in Mexico in 1930, and it's a very beautiful and important painting. So, trifectas usually pay pretty well. I would be putting a retail estimate on the piece of between $800,000 and $1 million.
Seriously?
Seriously.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Unbelievable. I did not expect that. I'm astounded. I really don't know what to say.
It sold at Christie's auction November 2023 for $11.2 million.
It's getting weird. Port Infinity.
I moved to Dubai to become a porta potty. And if you don't know what that is, it's women who come to Dubai and get pooped on for $50,000. Black girl living in Dubai. What I spent in a day living in Dubai. So y'all know I just moved into a new apartment and it been beating my pockets down. Child, I spent like $3,000 on Amazon and I'm still ordering.
Let's go.
I've been trying to do this new thing now where I don't judge people for how they make their money. Okay? Because we're going through some shitty times right now.
It's getting poops
as long
on.
as you're
Come
not
on,
messing
man.
with kids, as long as you're not hurting other people,
Still,
if
yeah.
you feel that being defecated on for 50 grand in Amazon Prime account is worthwhile, do you think? But you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of that Dave Chappelle special where he talks about getting pissed on by R. Kelly. Let me see if I can find it.
So I'm gonna tell you right now, if somebody comes in here and puts a gun in my head and says, Chappelle, you got a choice to make. You're either going to jail for a month or we'll let you go, but you gotta let R. Kelly pee on you. I'm not hesitating. Bring in R. Kelly and tell him to stay away from my ass. I'd rather get pissed on the outside than fucking the butt on the inside, son. I can't go to jail with some smooth Botox balls and think everything's gonna be all right. It's not that kind of place. Take my chance with that piss. Piss will wash off with a 10-minute shower, I'm certain of it. This piss coming right out. What can I do? They're gonna put me in jail.
Like, I wonder if it's like that for her, right? After you get defecated on, you go back to your hotel, you take a shower, and you're like, oh, do the washing right off, and get that Honda Accord I was looking to get.
That's dirty money, man.
Fun fact, China has begun to crack down on influencers who use money and luxurious lifestyles to attract followers. In the last month, many high net worth Chinese influencers have had their accounts deleted. Most notably, Wang Hongquanxing, who was known as the Chinese Kim Kardashian and had 4.3 million followers. He would show off his 7 luxury properties in Beijing and would never leave the house in an outfit worth less than $1.4 million. Another influencer, Abellone's sister, who had 2 million followers, would often stroll through the private gardens of her 3-acre mansion and showcase imperial jade jewelry and massive diamond rings. This crackdown comes as China experiences a massive economic slowdown and a highly competitive job market which is destroying the middle class. But the Chinese government is very aware of how the USSR fell, and that the common people's unhappiness with the elite's corruption and lavish displays of wealth while they struggled led to an uprising and a revolution that collapsed the empire, which is why this crackdown is happening. And in Xi Jinping's New Year address, he called on the nation to focus on the common prosperity of all Chinese people.
That's amazing. We just give them more money and TV shows here in Indonesia.
Dance of mistaken identities on the global stage, in 2015, a Russian plane was shot down by Turkey, prompting Russians to storm the Turkish embassy in retaliation. Turkish people, mistaking it for a declaration of war, stormed the Dutch embassy as they confused the Dutch flag with the Russian flag. In 2017, the Turkish president went to the Netherlands to campaign for Turkish votes. However, due to the 2015 incident, the Netherlands hadn't forgiven Turkey, leading to a ban on Turkish entry. This further angered the Turkish, resulting in them burning the French flag on the streets, mistaking it for the Dutch flag. In 2018 in Kuwait, an Asian killed a Filipino maid. Since the Asian's face wasn't disclosed, a TV station randomly picked a picture of an Asian, coincidentally, the then Korean president, Moon Jae-in. Subsequently, South Korea lodged a diplomatic protest. With so many misunderstandings, it's hard for Turkey to avoid being mocked.
I don't understand. What is the point of this video? Please let me know in the comment.
If you remember my previous video on the Himalayan rock salt and need further proof of our realm's much larger biology hidden all around us in plain sight, then take a look at this video. It's not just seeing the faces on the mountains or small rocks resembling flesh. It goes much bigger than that.
Biogeology, the study of petrified fragments of giants. Now these are theories, but not an exact science. Could have this been the inside of a digestive system of a giant? Now, as you can see the diagram that I did bring up, and you can see the circular folds, and you can also see how identical they look. Now, could have this been the entrance of the large intestine as shown in the diagram up above? Now, if you look at the diagram of the large intestine up above, and to your left you see the cave wall, you can see the identical similarities to both of them. Now, could this cave just have been a digestive tract of a giant? Now, according to research, these so-called rocks have a composition of venous blood, which is a purple blood and has composition of iron, and on the back side of this rock you can see the uncanny flesh look to this rock. Now take a look at this trabecular bone and compare it to this. Now you can see the similarities to the trabecular bone. Now you can see a good example of this Swiss cheese looking trabecular bone, and in the channels you can see the red iron ore, and you might think this is just earth packed in from flooding. But if you look at this larger example, you can see that this is not earth, this is actual iron ore coming out of this trabecular bone. Now, could this be here, the fragments of giants scattered all over? Now, as we get closer, you can see the different tissue of the surface of these so-called rocks. Now, again, here I've added more examples of tissues just to show the different similarities to these so-called rocks. Now, this rock has the uncanny look of a lung, and if you look closely, you can see all the ventricles that would be visible in a lung. Now, here is a diagram up above like that. You can see the different type of ventricles. Now, just by looking at the lung diagrams and looking at the so-called stone, you tell me there's not a possibility this can be true. Now, like I said before, this is all theory, but after seeing this video, you'll probably never look at a rock the same. But could there be some truth in this theory?
It makes you think about how big they really were. Alright folks, I'm going to end our video with this coming clip. Be kind to each other. If you haven't subscribed, please do. And don't forget to like or dislike so I can make better content. Thank you for staying till the end. And there is a free gift for you in the description below. Thank you for watching. Peace and God bless.
You heard?
Break it down.
Hey yo, I'm walking here.
I didn't say young complete, complex, triumph, or complex, or that fucking notion.
I said, hey yo,
Lotion.
hey yo,
Fuck.
hey yo,
Crap hot.
ah yo,
It's right.
hey yo,
Right.
yo, hey yo.
I like Crow.
Me too. I also love crew.